the chair for this meeting. And on our Board of Equalizations meeting, we have 8 items. And we'll just start and go down through that with the 8 items that we have on there. The first one is to approve the Board of Equalizations Assessors Approved Review Process Report. Any questions to that?
Not for me.
Nope.
I will move then that we approve the review process report as stated number 1.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve the Board of Equalizations Assessors Approved Review Process Report as stated. All in favor say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Number 2 is to approve the Board of Equalizations Hearing Process Report. Any questions?
None. I'll move
Nope.
then that we approve the hearing process report as stated number 2.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve the item stated in number 2. All in favor say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Number 3 is to deny or approve a petition for the Board of Equalization to hear the appeal of the property value. This one deals with the reason why was divorce. And any questions to that one?
Yeah, I don't think statutorily that qualifies, right?
Yeah, there's
That's
nothing-
why the denial.
Yeah, we're recommending denial because they just didn't really give us any indication as to why the divorce prevented them from filing. The divorce was in 2017. I understand that can cause a lot of chaos in one's life, but
There's no notice issue.
there's nothing,
Okay.
yeah.
I would, again, as I read down through the explanation, if there was some detail to it or there was some reason for it that
Something
happened,
gave us more.
but I did not read anything in there, I would have been more inclined to look at that if
Sure.
we would have had something that would have said, this is why.
Absolutely.
I will move then that we deny the petition as stated in number 3.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to deny the petition as stated in number 3. All in favor say aye.
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 Number 4 is to approve or deny a petition of the Board of Equalizations to hear the appeal of property valuation. This one has, we're talking about a structure under construction still. There's a
Yes.
certain level of completeness to the home that needs to be evaluated. And any thoughts or questions on it?
Nope, looks like it meets, so.
Yeah, this is a factual error. This was brought to us by the assessor's office and asked that we approve that. And I appreciate the attorney's office pointing out that it's a level of completeness, not a level of competition. Thanks, Paul.
Take your win, Paul, right? I will move then that we approve the petition as stated in number 4.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the petition as stated in number 4. All in favor say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Number 5 is to approve or deny a petition of the Board of Equalization for a hearing appeal of property valuation. This one is the one where the plane crashed into the home. Obviously, there's some concern with this one, and I feel like it needs to be approved.
Yeah. As is the recommendation. So
Yep.
I will move then that we approve the petition as stated in number 5.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve the petition as stated in number 5. All in favor say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Number 6 is to approve or deny a petition of the Board of Equalization to hear an appeal of property valuations. This one deals with medical circumstances. I read down through it. Different than the one with the divorce. There's a lot of details in there. Probably more than I
Yep.
really wanted to read. But anyway, I felt like
Yeah,
it
my only
was-
question on that is, we can't legally require all that, so they voluntarily
No,
submitted all
we
that, right?
don't. We simply ask for explanation of the circumstances as
Right.
to why, and obviously,
That's my point, is
What
because there
level?
was a lot
a
Yeah.
lot in there.
but I mean, but that kind of level of detail is really nice when someone does that in a petition because that gives us enough information to go, okay, yeah, this is a
My point
legitimate
was-
circumstance.
My point was, some of that information is, I just want to make sure it's nothing we said, hey, give us more
No.
detail. Okay.
No, we do not require any kind of, if there's a medical reason, we don't ask for any kind of detail, but
Okay,
enough
just
to
making
know.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I will move then that we approve the petition as stated in number 6.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the petition as stated in number 6 on our regular agenda. All in favor say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Number 7 is to deny or approve a petition of the Board of Equalizations for a hearing appeal of property valuation. This one was talking about working out of state. and I did not see any real explanation of why that report couldn't have been turned in.
She cut me off. She didn't want me talking. Kidding. Anyways, again, not very much detail provided in this petition. Really don't have anything to go off of. Have to recommend denial.
Move then that we deny the petition as stated in number 7.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to deny the petition as stated in number 7. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Number 8 is to deny or approve a petition of the Board of Equalizations to hear the appeal of a property valuation after the filing deadline. This one has a little more to it, I think, than.
Commissioners, this is a bit more complex. We're recommending, the auditor's office is recommending denial. The problem is the factual error that the petitioner is making is really is an issue under dispute, and it's currently under dispute with the State Tax Commission. Peter Jepson is here from the assessor's office. He could give you more detail as far as this particular appeal and what they're disputing. But in terms of the factual error preventing them from filing on time, or it being a factual error in the first place, first off, we don't feel the appellant, missed the filing deadline accidentally. We don't feel, and I don't know that this is a
How much did
stated
they miss it
factual
by?
error. They just barely filed, so they missed it by 45, 60 days,
Yeah.
something like that, so,
Because there's a difference between just missing
yeah.
and significantly
I mean,
missing.
they're saying that this is a fact, they're disputing this based on factual error, which they can file late appeal and get corrected all the way up to March
But valuation
31st.
is not a factual error unless the assessor's office would then say it's a factual error, is my
Right.
understanding.
Yeah, we'd have to have an agreement on that, and I'll let Peter Jepson discuss what our dispute is on this one.
Peter Jepson with the Assessor's Office. When we receive a factual error case, then the appeal is limited just to the valuation of the factual error. The square footage
Right.
was wrong or something. This one isn't a factual error because we're not disputing any of the value issues, the physical features. It's a legal question that really is not I'm not speaking in tongues, I tell you that. I don't know what's happening here. So,
Question for you, Peter.
yes.
I'm just reading off their letter, and I just want to get this in my mind so I understand what you're saying there. It says, Rule 66 authorizes the Board of Equalization to accept late appeals if there is a factual error. Under Rule 66, a factual error is an error that is objectively verifiable without an exercise of discretion, opinion, or judgment, and includes a mistake in the use of ownership of the property. And then Rule 66 1A, I won't put the rest of it in there. It says the 2018 assessment of the above property involved a factual error, and then the company says did not have exclusive possession of any portion of any of the parcel in question. So
This is
how
over-
do I run through that and
This is
understand
over
it?
billboards, and that is the legal question that's involved. There was a court ruling that said, on a naval case up in Salt Lake, that because the Navy had said in their lease, at any time we can take over the building, at any time we can, you have to do our products first. And so the court ruled because they didn't have exclusive use, that they didn't have to pay the privilege tax. In this case, the county's position is that Regan has exclusive use of the billboard, that they have exclusive use to use that billboard. Their position is because the lease says, well, we're gonna put a billboard somewhere within these 3 acres and we don't have exclusive use of the 3 acres, that they think that's their loophole to get around doing the privilege tax. And so it is under litigation, but it isn't a factual error in that the physical features we all agree upon. In fact, they've even said that they really are not going to appeal the values. It's not a valuation issue. So in a factual error case, the only thing you can do is adjust, let's say we're off on the square footage.
Hold on, what you just said. The problem is if they're not going to appeal the valuation, this is literally an appeal to appeal the property valuation. That's what this before us is.
Right. But whenever we have a case, that's a factual error case, the court will very clearly say, this is limited to the value of the factual error problem.
Right.
So it's limited to the square footage error or the age discrepancy or something like that of a factual nature.
Right, property that was there
Yeah,
that's
and
not
so how
there.
how do we limit this to the value of a factual error?
Right, which is, to me, it's not, that's why I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if it goes to the state tax commission and it rules that there is a factual error, we'll say it goes against us on that.
Well, it would be a
Then would-
legal error, it wouldn't be a factual error. We agree that there are billboards on the property, we agree.
How would that affect what we're doing here now? Anything? Would
The
it change
billboard,
anything?
the billboards, all the physical features, nobody denies. I'm gonna let Paul answer
Yeah,
to
let
the
me-
factual part.
Yeah, let me hop in here. This is really not a factual error. We're all on the same page as far as what's there and how it's being used. We're all on the same page there. There is a legal dispute. Now, they have appealed 2016 and 2017. And so we're going through the litigation process in the tax commission over those years to find out the legal ramification of their use and how it should be taxed. And we're figuring all that out right now. We're in settlement talks, and we'll be bringing some issues to you probably in the next couple of weeks. My recommendation here is that we deny the request because it's not a factual issue. And then however 2016 and 2017 resolve, we'll just bring 2018 into that same resolution. I think that's probably the best. That's my recommendation.
So you're recommending that because it's not we're contesting it's not a factual error.
Right.
And this is dealing with evaluation, and it was a petition that was sent in late.
Right.
So therefore, we should deny it
Right. In fact,
because it was late.
later
It
in
has
his
nothing to do with a factual error.
Right. Later in his letter, he says, in addition to his request that it's a factual error, he also claims that it's an illegal tax. And that's actually more in line with the arguments
that's-
going through the process. And so that's probably a better place for it to fit. And if so, we'll probably bring it back onto a commission agenda and say, you know what, they were right, or we've settled that this was not appropriately taxed, and we'll come under 1321 with the commissioners on the Board of Commission agenda. But this is not a factual error or a factual issue.
So if this petition would have been sent in correctly, it still would have nothing to do with the dispute.
Well, I would expect that the outcome would have, so in 2016 and 2017, at least one of those years, they did dispute value, and it was denied, and that's how we got to
At the state,
Well, no, they appealed here first, and it was
Okay.
probably timely, I'm guessing. And they were denied because it was really a legal issue, and that's how we're at the State Tax Commission
Okay.
on 16 and 17.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one more real quick comment. When it's a factual error, it would be nice if the commission said this is a factual error, it's being reopened for a factual error, and it's limited to, and define what that is, because a lot of people think once they get it open for a factual error,
they can do
then
everything.
they're free to open up and do
Everything's
everything.
open, okay.
And so if we made that very clear in the rulings, then there would be no misunderstanding. It's opened up because it's.
Well, my
square footage.
motion will make this one very clear.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, thanks.
Well, I'd also like to point out that we've started putting factual error in the agenda items, so whatever motion the commissioner is making, that's on the agenda item, which
Right.
says for factual error. So it does show it is limited to factual error.
Okay, very good. Any other questions?
Nope.
Thank you for those clarifications.
A
I'll
motion
move
in
then
order.
that we deny the petition as stated in number 8.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to deny a petition as stated in number 8. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Okay, we are now adjourned. We'll wait 1 second as we stop the recording and start a different one. Okay, we are now in the Board of Commissioners meeting. We have the 3 commissioners here with Commissioner Ivy on the phone. That's why I'm chairing this meeting. And welcome to everyone that has come to listen or participate. Just on that note, if you'd like to participate when we get to that agenda item, if you'd like to come up, you can come up here and we'll recognize you to be able to speak on the agenda item. As always, though, we will start with a prayer, reading, or thought, and the Pledge of Allegiance, and we look to the audience for any that would like to participate with us. and voluntarily do one of those two. Any volunteers? Prayer? Okay. And you'll lead us in the pledge? Okay. Andrew, if you come on up. We know Andrew Jackson. If you
Dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this day. We're thankful for the opportunities and freedoms which we have. We're thankful for the veterans and those currently in service to our country to protect our rights and freedoms and give us the opportunity that we can meet here today. We're thankful also at the end of this harvest season. We're thankful for the rich bounties of the land which we have, and that we have plenty to eat. And we're also thankful for this opportunity that we have to meet here with the County Commission and the public to discuss the needs of the county and the residents here. And we pray that we'll have thy spirit to with us, and we say this in the name of Son Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. That's Heidi Baldery.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We will now build our agenda. We'll place both the consent agenda items and the regular agenda items onto a consent agenda for now. So all of them will be either on there as adopted, approved, recommended, ratified, whatever it says in the item itself. And then we'll pull off those that we would like to talk about and or continue or make motions to. And so with that, looking at our published agenda item, there is 10 on there. Number 10 does not have any documentation, and so I would recommend that we continue that for 1 week. We could leave it on consent. Any objection to
Yep.
that? Okay. So we'll leave that on consent to continue for 1 week. Any others that need to be pulled off?
My only
from-
question, Dave, I know we tried this one time, and I can't remember what we did. I'm okay with it staying on consent, but with consent knowing that that I do not vote in favor of it. Is that possible? Okay, number 6, please.
Number 6, okay. Fair enough, we'll pull that one off. So from our published consent agenda, number 6 will be pulled off, number 10 will be left on to continue for 1 week. On our regular agenda, published regular agenda, we have 9 items. From those items, I'd like to see number 2 and number 3 pulled off. Any others?
Nope, those were the two I had.
Okay. So number
Do you
2
really
and
want to talk about 3? Just kidding.
And, okay, so all the rest of them will go on again as, the rest of them that we did not pull off will go on as approved, recommended, or whatever the wording is that's on the agenda. Is there any comment to the ones that we have, that we've left on consent? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go back to number 6 on the published item for consent. Is to adopt a resolution appointing, and it gives a bunch of names in here to be on the Children's Justice Center Advisory Board. Commissioner.
I have no reason for a discussion.
Okay.
I don't want to.
Okay.
I just wanted to vote.
Okay.
All right. A motion to be in
I
order.
would,
I'll move
Oh.
then that we adopt the resolution as stated on consent agenda item number 6.
second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that?
Nope.
Seeing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That's a 2-1. Commissioner Graves opposed, Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Ivy approved. Okay, number 2 is to approve property tax actions contained in the recommendation letter, as stated number 2018-5, it's abatements. And it's brought back before us again. I have read down through the application and the circumstances that Vicky provided, which is not detailed necessarily. It's their private information stuff, and I feel like this one does fit the criteria as stated in standard 3.3 of indigent abatement and deferrals. I'm just going to read that. 3.3.0 eligibility to claim an indigent abatement or deferral, the taxpayer must be at least 65 years or older, or disabled regardless of age, or facing extreme hardship regardless of age, and household income did not exceed $32,738 in the prior filing years. And reading down through the application and the questions why, I feel like this one meets the criteria of facing extreme hardship. And
Can you give me that number again, the code that you read?
it's the standard 3.3 indigent abatement and deferrals. And so I would prefer that we I'm not sure now if the approval means that we agree with it being deferred then on our agenda. Correct, Paul? Sometimes approve means yes, and sometimes approve means no. And so I want to make sure the approve on this one means that we are.
Well, actually, you would need to change, because it says to approve the property tax actions contained in the recommendation letter that came from my office. I recommended denial, so you need to
So in this case,
comment on that. You'll just need to say that you want to approve. Probably if you make a motion to approve the indigent abatement as identified here, that's probably sufficient.
So, since the agenda still on my iPad will not pull up, and they've tried, can you give me that property ID number so that in my motion I can contemplate that? Or how I need to recognize
Well,
it?
there's
The
only
word
one-
approval, I know.
Yeah, there's only one on there. But
Right,
it's-
but
It's 41,379,002.
Yeah.
000.
right, 30. Oh yeah, I knew that. Okay. I'm okay moving forward then.
okay. Any questions or any comments, Paul?
Yeah, I'm fine moving forward with that.
Okay.
I will move that we approve the property actions contained with the subsequent property parcel 41,379,002 for approval based on the standards given.
I got a motion and a second to approve the abatement of the taxes, abatement, or for, in this case, it's abatement of the taxes for the property that was mentioned. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Okay, number 3 is to adopt an ordinance enacting Article 21-6 of the Utah County Code, approving and imposing of the quarter-cent sales tax, county option sales tax, and use for highways and public transit. This one we've had a lot of discussion on. I'll just start us off. I think it's premature. We still have some negotiations that we're going through with UTA, and those negotiations with UTA talk about a service level agreement, which we don't have in place yet. We have an agreement, which I'm happy for, when it comes to the fourth quarter cent sales tax and local control, which is one of 2 steps, I think, before this question should be addressed. I'd like to see this addressed later as we get to that point, but I don't see us there yet in this one for addressing this situation. And again, and I'll state it publicly, I really do think it needs to go to the county for a vote, and let them come along board with us
You done?
Yep.
Okay.
For me on this one, I felt it was a little premature. I'd really like to have a discussion on this, but I also felt we were a little early on this. I'd like to see us get through our property tax discussion and such first.
So I obviously put this on here. The UTA agreement was completed several weeks ago due to some timing and making sure and wanting to give everybody an opportunity to get through the elections and have discussion. I put this on here. I have a lot of reasons why. I think part of the problem is we have public that comes in and demands a higher standard and then wonders why the cost of government goes up. And it's because we forego some of these costs that we could save now and with some of the costs that go on. For example, Lakeview Parkway is a perfect example of a road that should have cost $2 or $3 million, ends up costing $17, $18 million because of delays and all sorts of things. Construction costs then ballooned 9 years later after the concept was already necessary and approved by those involved. Just one of many examples. With the agreement with UTA, I believe that Prop 1, which was voted down, was because of the UTA component. I think Utah County residents are still concerned with UTA, and as is the commission. But those steps are being rectified. The legislature, especially the Utah County contingent, continue to protect and are working to making sure that is a transparent process that works for everyone. My real concern is, in this case, is unlike Salt Lake County, Utah County itself, government, we're not really in the transportation business. Our general plan, everything we do is actually geared toward the cities. And the cities have been talking about the extensive need for years. The residents in those cities want their cities to do more. And, you know, if our residents don't want quarter cents to fix roads, then they need to quit calling and worrying about potholes or all the damage that happens to roads. If you go and look at the standard of roads we have, it's very good, but we've gotten used to it. And so in order to maintain and keep up, these things are important. That's part of my concern. The other part of my concern is the more we delay, the more delayed it is on the collection. Even if we enacted this today or in a couple weeks, it still takes 6 or 7 months. These are the kind of taxes that I absolutely support, and that's because these are user taxes. People that drive, people that spend money here help contribute to pay a portion of the facilities that they use. We have a lot of people that come here that don't live here. And in my opinion, we need to capture some of that money because it helps ease the burden on all of us that live here. A couple of years ago, Provo City made a statement where 55-45 breakdown of the people in Utah County and Provo City, don't pay property taxes because of the exemption. So they've tried to come up with a way to not create the burden on just their property owners and things like that. That's one way. This is another way in order to give them money. Just so everybody's aware, at current collection, the quarter cent in Utah County raises over $20 million. I think right now it's near $22 million, based on population and things that are going. $22 million spread between the cities and the counties is a lot of money. In the county's portion, it would eliminate some of the need for raising property taxes because some of the roads that we would potentially have to do in the future would come out of general fund, and we're following behind on that. Same with some of the cities. That's my reason. Where the UTA agreement has given control to the county, meaning MAG and the commission, I feel 100% confident that this is a quarter cent that now is 100% local. That's the other reason for my support. It's necessary to me. I believe it, that it's the time, that it's the prudent thing to do. I'm greatly concerned with partly where this county could be headed in some instances, because we talk about growth and we want a lot of these things and we say, well, we want this and we want this, but we're not willing to do it, and then we complain about it years later. There's just a lot of concerns. I believe the majority of people that voted against Prop 1 was because of UTA. With removing that UTA component, in nearly every case of everybody that I've talked to, they would have supported it because of the local control. And that's what I believe this does. Again, that's why I put this on here. We've received a letter that I think there are some that have come to comment on it, both for and against. And so, at this point, that's all I need to say, I guess.
All right, is there any comments?
Good morning. My name is Rana Rolfe. I am the president and CEO of the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce, and I am here not only representing our chamber board, but also the Lehigh, American Fork, and Pleasant Grove Linden Chamber of Commerce boards. And I have a letter I would like to read, if you would allow me the few minutes to do that. Dear Utah County Commissioners, the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and these member businesses encourage the Utah County Commissioners to adopt the interlocal agreement with UTA and enact the fourth quarter cent tax in order to be effective by July 1, 2019 at the latest. We support the tax because it will help meet critical unfunded transportation needs in our communities. The business community understands that investment in multimodal transportation is directly tied to economic development and quality of life. The board is aware that the Utah County Commissioners are currently debating a property tax increase of up to $7.5 million to pay for previously neglected critical county needs. Additionally, the board commends the Utah County Commission for seeking to form an interlocal agreement with UTA and to direct UTA's portion of the proposed fourth quarter cent tax increase toward Utah County specific transportation projects. We applaud the fiscally prudent approach for the revenue made through this tax to first go toward paying principal and interest on the 2016 bonds, then towards paying operating and maintenance costs on Utah Valley Express. The interlocal agreement brings county control of the UTA portion and satisfies the concern of voters proven in the unsuccessful 2015 Prop 1 vote, that being concern over no local control, the UTA 40% of the fourth quarter. Enacting the sales tax so it is effective by July 1st, 2019, requires the county to give the Utah State Tax Commission notice of intent a minimum of 90 days prior to that effective date. If approved, the tax then put into place the first quarter after the 90-day period. An estimated $2 million per month is collected from that fourth quarter cent sales tax. As you are well aware, 100% of the tax funds collected prior to July 1st, 2019 go directly to the county for the sole use by the county for transportation needs, including maintenance of county roads. The tax funds collected for the following 12 months, July 1st, 2019 to July 1st, 2020, brings an estimated $4.5 million directly to Utah County, and municipalities would receive $8.5 million for their road needs, similar to the numbers you were stating. If the county does not enact the tax by a commission resolution, the commission still has the option to place it on the ballot November 2019 to be enacted by April 1st, 2020. This option loses nearly $24 million in collections. If the county does not place the tax on the ballot in November 2019, then the cities have the right to enact the tax as of July 1st, 2020. However, the interlocal agreement with UTA is the only valid and feasible if the tax is enacted county-wide by the commission. With the interlocal in place, at stake is nearly $24 million per year for county and municipal roads. Over the life of the interlocal agreement, interest savings on the bonds alone will be over $20 million. Without the interlocal, municipalities could adopt the tax on a city-by-city, town-by-town basis. This process loses local control of nearly $11 million, which would automatically go to UTA. While increased funding for transit is important to the business community, it is also more important to have local control of those transit dollars. In a recent survey conducted by Mountain Land Association of Governments, 2/3 of the mayors who responded requested the county commission enact this fourth quarter cent sales tax this year. Furthermore, an additional survey was funded by MAG and conducted by Qualtrics, whereby 60% of the public supported the county commission enacting the tax if 100% of the funds were locally directed and used for roads. The board and these member businesses respectfully request the commissioners adopt the interlocal agreement and act now to implement the fourth quarter tax and fund long overdue road maintenance. This is signed by the Utah Valley Chamber Board of Directors, American Fork Chamber Board of Directors, Lehigh Chamber Board of Directors, Pleasant Grove Linden Chamber Board of Directors, Jeremy Hafen, President, Sunrock Corporation, Brandon Fugel, CEO of Colliers International, Kate Allen, owner of Rustica Hardware, Mayor Richard Brunst, Orem City, Chad Jones, Project Director of Project Control, Daryl Magleby, President, Pizza Factory, Chad Pritchard, owner, Oregano Italian Kitchen, Kevin Brooks, Administrator, Utah Valley Hospital, Intermountain Healthcare, Kimball Anderson, CEO, Timpanogos Regional Hospital, Michael Bingham, Chief Investment Officer, Blue Diamond Capital, Linda Walton, President of the Walton Group, Bill Fries, Realtor, Realty Path, Thomas Scribner, Partner, Scribner Folk, PC, David Harding, Provo City Council Member, District 5, Patrick Parrott, Stratagem Consulting, Carol Walker, Provo Downtown Property Owner, Mike Washburn, President and CEO of Thanksgiving Point, Mark Robinson of Robinson, Sealer, Anderson, and Fife, Mayor Jenny Reese, Cedar Hills, Terry Grant, Key Bank, Brandon Henry, Clyde Properties, Jeff Rust, Kelly Ward, Arthur Newell, Scott Barlow, Sterling Orton, Ned Hill, Tim Larson, Craig Jensen, Lana Hiskey, Jeannie Walker, Mark Seastrand, and Tom McDonald. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heather Williamson. I'm the State Director for Americans for Prosperity in Utah. I'm also a Utah County resident. I live in Saratoga Springs. And so this does affect me personally as a tax increase. And I'm actually up here standing for taxpayers in Utah County. And if you look at this last election cycle, it's interesting. There was a question one that was on the ballot. It was just a 5-cent per gallon additional tax increase for education. And if you look at the numbers, voters did not like that. They voted it resoundingly down, especially in Utah County. Now, yeah, we're talking about another, quarter cent sales tax increase that voters, again, resoundingly voted down just a few years ago. If this is something that voters want, then why would you want to go around them? Why not put it on the ballot, put it to them, and let them vote on it? If they feel like they want the control, they want the money, and it's going to be something that they want to spend their money on, then allow them to have that voice and that vote. But let me just tell you a number that may shock you a little bit. Taxpayers in Utah have faced over $500 million in tax increases in the last few years. We're talking about $268 million increase in property taxes, talking about gas tax increase, sales tax increases. And, we used to have around a 6.1% average sales tax. And now many counties are consistently over 7%. Salt Lake County is at about 7.1, and then we're talking about phone tax increase, hotel increases, alcohol tax increases. I'm thinking also we're about ready to go through a budgeting process in the county. Why not take a look at the budget, see what's going on with the budget, go through that process, and look at where we can cut, and look at where we're wasting some spending, and see what you can do for taxpayers in Utah County. Because I can tell you, based on the results of question one, which was just another 5-cent per gallon tax increase, taxpayers are not going to be okay with another tax increase. And we saw that just a couple weeks ago. And I think as you see the numbers come in with the rest of the election results as they're counted, we'll continue to see the numbers rise, especially with Utah County residents saying, no, we're taxed enough. We don't want another tax increase. And so I have to say thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heidi Baldery. I'm from Saratoga Springs, Utah, also a taxpayer in Utah County. I'd just like to echo some of the thoughts that Heather mentioned, specifically with the non-binding question that failed so miserably. I think the residents of Utah County and the state of Utah have spoken. This 10 cents increase was denied by over 65%, 65.86% as of 3 days ago, so I don't have the latest statistics. 65% is an overwhelming majority. You know, according to the ads that I saw in the media, that would roughly, you know, hypothetically equate to $4 a month. And people said no. So what I'm concerned about, I heard from the Utah County Chamber, I heard names of my friends and mayors, business owners in there who support this, but we're not here to please the minority. We're talking about what the majority of the county is interested in. So even though I hold some of those people in high esteem that are for this, the bulk of your residents in the county are not. So please look at the numbers, let it stand, see that the will of the people is not here to support this tax increase. They've spoken. They spoke just a week ago. I don't think anything is going to have changed between last week and today. So please consider that before making this mistake.
My name is Jan Priest, and I live in Eagle Mountain, and I'm always concerned about people increasing my taxes because in the last 2 years, my husband has not got a raise, and yet my taxes have gone up over $300. And I'm going to tell these business owners right now that my taxes go up. That's fine that we have nice new roads to get to your businesses, but I won't have the money to spend at your business. So I would say no to tax increases. We have many, many families out there that barely are making ends meet and barely can afford the taxes on their houses and that. And we need to give these families the money to feed their children. Say no to taxes.
I'm Andrew Jackson, Executive Director of Mountain Land Association of Governments. I'm also a resident of Orem. I've worked on the interlocal agreement, which we've spent a lot of time with, both in commission meeting and out of commission meeting, and a substantial amount of time with UTA on it. It was approved by UTA in September and the County Commission in October, and we appreciate that. We understand that there's still the service level agreement with the interlocal in place, and I would guess that there's maybe less than a dozen people in the county that fully understand what that interlocal agreement does. And I think that's one of the decisions that you have to make with the representative form of government as to your elected. Can you spend that time in the interlocal agreement to fully understand it versus can we get several 100,000 other people to understand the interlocal agreement? This last election cycle, I'm sure that you, as well as myself, received phone calls from several of my neighbors trying to help them understand all the different questions and propositions that were on the ballot. So it's very confusing. I think there was confusion of people I talked to trying to understand how the increase in gasoline tax would go to education if the gasoline tax by state constitution can only go towards roads. It can't go towards education. And so then you have to say, well, in order to do that, There's money goes into, there's 18% of the general fund of the state that goes into transportation. You're taking a dollar for dollar change out of the sales tax into the general fund and then swapping that over into education to have that. I think that was a little confusing for people. Probably a lot of people don't even know that in the state constitution, the gasoline tax is constitutionally prohibited to go to anything except for roadway construction. So we have the interlocal in place that we spend a lot of time in hashing out all the different agreements associated with it. The cash flow coming out of that for the next 7 years of the UTA portion of the fourth quarter cent will go towards that past payments made out of the third quarter, as well as taking over the obligations of the third quarter. And so there won't be any cash flow available to be under the purveyance of the service level agreement out of the fourth quarter until sometime around 2026, mid-2026. And so we have some time, but we are expecting, and I had some discussions just a couple of weeks ago with UTA that we're expecting that that service level agreement will be in place in January. You can have the effective date, the earliest you could have the effective date for this would be in April, but you could postpone that to July 1st. I know there's been some discussion about the first year, the money's collected from the time that it's enacted until July 1st would go to the county 100%. If that's a concern, it can also be so that it doesn't go into effect until July 1st, and then you don't have that first couple of months that would go to the county, because the interlocal agreement doesn't go into place until July 1st of 2019. With the funding involved in that, there is an interlocal agreement that in 2028, that funding will come back. You can either have the money as a lump sum in 2028, or you can have the funding sooner. You're currently paying about 3% in bond, and I think UTA is paying about 2% for that other past interlocal agreement on the third quarter cent and a repayment of the third quarter cent. And so we look at that and we look at that time value of money. And so you'll get the same amount of money now, except you don't have to have the interest charges associated with it. So the time value of money is the same as if you get it in a lump sum later. Again, I think it's a little confusing to people. I've explained it to some people several times how it goes, and it's a conversation at our dinner table. I think my kids understand it finally. It's like we take this money, and then this goes to this, and this goes to that, and we've worked on this for a while. If you look at when Prop 1 failed, and you look at the description for Prop 1 and the description against Prop 1, if you read the description opposing Prop 1, it's almost entirely about the funding going to UTA in the official document. I think you're familiar with that.
Wrote it.
Yep, you wrote it. So it was almost entirely about opposition to the funding going to UTA and concerns with UTA, et cetera. This interlocal agreement takes UTA out of that equation. However, and I guess you can ask your attorneys this, I'm not an attorney and I don't play one on TV, but as you have stated on the on your agenda today, it would be listed the same on the ballot measure if you go to the ballot in November of 2019, which will say for roads and for transit, local roads and transit. So even though the interlocal agreement takes the transit portion out, it would still have to be listed as it's listed in state law, I would assume, on the ballot. I don't think we would get a change of that. So you would still be asking people, even though the interlocal agreement takes the transit portion out, you would still be asking people to vote for a transit portion. I think that was part of the issue with the gasoline tax, that they're voting for a gasoline tax for education, and they couldn't just say, this is a tax just for education. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll bring it back up here. Thank you for your participation in that. Couple things I want to mention with direction from the commission, from my fellow commissioners, when it come to that negotiation with UTA. I led that effort to get that interlocal agreement with UTA in place in the way of control and local control back here. And so I'm very familiar with that. I see that as, personally, I see that as a one part of three parts, the third part being taking it to the people, at least to have their voice in it. The second part is that service level agreement. All along, that has been a part of the equation, which we do not have. That's why I think it's a little premature for us to be considering it now, because we have not gone through that process yet, and to circumvent that, I think, could be problematic as we consider what that service level agreement looks like, because there's going to have to be some negotiations back and forth with that. Second, and then the third part was I think since it did go to the people the first time, which was overwhelmingly voted down, in changing this process now, and yes, UTA was a big part of that opposition to it, and I feel like if it would have just been roads, it probably would have passed. Personally, I think that it probably would have passed. That's the reason why when I wrote that, it was heavy on the UTA portion of it, in opposition to Prop 1. I would like to have the opportunity to look at this and get all the component parts and pieces in place, and then present it to the people and see what they have to say on it. I don't know. They may vote it down again. I don't know. But since we've gone through that process the first time with the people, for us to just jump around and impose it without taking it back to the people for a vote, I think is short-sighted, considering that who we're dealing with when it comes to the public as representatives, of the people for that. Also, I want to make a couple of mentions. We hear I've heard this before, that the cities really want this, and of course the cities really want this, but they have taxing authority on their own over and above this $0.25. They have taxing authority on their own. When that letter was read to us, there was only 2 mayors that I saw on there. They actually signed it. There was stated that there was 2/3 of the mayors that were in support of it, but only 2 signed it. Maybe that was just for whatever reason. But a lot of times I don't like it when the legislature punts to us as a county and says, you take all the political heat, you do all the political fights with it, and then move on. And I certainly think that punting that, we should stand up for it and say exactly how we feel about it and where we're at with it. And if mayors want to fix their roads, propose a tax increase in your city. That's they have discretion to do that. And so instead of in this case, I think there's a certain amount of a punt. I know it came through the legislative process, which was a punt down to us. So anyway, other comments?
So, for me, one, I am mad at the legislature. Had you given us the ability to enact it, Larry and I would have enacted it 4 years ago, and it had never gone to the people. I'm an elected representative based on the way the founding fathers set up this nation, and believe that it is my duty to act in the best interest of the county. I do find it ironic that one of the people, and when I read the letter, I glossed over the first time because that letter was presented to the commission. One of the people on there is Brandon Fugel of Colliers International. Let me tell you why that's important. This commission, also led by Commissioner Lee, and he's right, that person happens to be the president, CEO, whatever his title is, of our economic development advisor for the county. And he is now telling you this is important. We trust him, and we know why we trust him. He's good at what he does. Plus, one of the reasons, the only reason actually I ever hear from people on why this sales tax is bad is we're on a fixed income and some of those things, or, my kids are on food stamps and things like that. We need to understand one thing that's different about this tax versus property tax and some of those things. That does not affect that percentage of our population. There is no sales tax charged when we're buying groceries and taking care of those basic human needs that we need to as a society. So that actually has no interest here. specifically to our residents of Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain. Let me tell you some things I've learned over as a commissioner. Now, I know Heather has no trust in me as far as when it comes to budget particularly, but I know she trusts Bill. And so when it comes to cuts, I'm here to tell you there is no waste in our budget. Okay, maybe a couple dollars here or there, but our budget has grown and those other elected officials have increased. But specifically when it comes to transportation needs, in this county, if you look at the 3 quarters that have been collected over the years and all the projects over the last few years, over $500 million have gone in transportation projects and future planned projects for Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs alone. That is hurting all the rest of the cities. Now, it's a need. We've taken care of those things. And if you talk to all of those residents out there, they'd tell you it's still a transportation disaster. Yet we spent $500 million. The thing that offends me is when I sit in a meeting and your elected leaders come in and say, yeah, we need more of these projects, and actually admit on the record that we have $17 million in surplus in one of your cities. So some of those transportation needs, you're right. Your elected representatives, of which I'm one, need to do a better job and be accountable for every sacred tax dollar and spend it the right way at the right time, not delaying things and not over collecting. That's not what I believe we're doing. I was obviously involved in the polling on Prop 1 and knew that it was going to fail. It actually passed by the exact portion of what the polling said. When we were at the state transportation meeting, the polling that they had on that, I expressed to the mayors there's no reason to put it on the ballot because it's going to fail. It actually failed exactly like the polling. That's why I trust the new polling, because I believe it's that way. I don't need people, like I say, I believe it's my job to enact the tax. I couldn't agree with more of what Commissioner Lee said. There's a lot of things that he said. How he did lead the charge on UTA to get those dollars back in local control, and he believes that that's what the people said. I agree. That's why it's time for us to act and enact this tax, is my belief that, on why that's important. I understand that people don't want to be taxed. I voted against the gas tax too, because I thought it was a punt by the legislature to do an end run around the constitutional mandate or the state constitution of where those funds go. I've listened to Governor Herbert when he talks about every year we need $30 million a year just to keep even in education. That's a real number. I believe him. I have no reason not to believe him. However, when it comes to roads and transportations, those dollars are increasing. Construction costs are increasing. We know. Look at our prices of our homes. Look at the price of gravel. Look at the price of roads. Everything is increasing, and because of that, it is prudent and the best use of our elected responsibility to take care and leave this county in better shape for tomorrow than it is today. And that's why I believe enacting this tax is so important.
I think there's been some excellent points made on both sides of this. As I mentioned in my first comment, I feel that today is a little premature, and the primary reason I feel that is we are currently in the midst of a budget process looking at a potential property tax increase that the county hasn't seen in like decades. The people just voted down question number 1, which I recognize is different in principle and detail than this one. But what the public hears is tax increase, tax increase, tax increase. As their elected representative, it's my responsibility to filter through and understand and represent them. Part of representing means listening and also having the opportunity to share all of the information that I have about this particular tax. Because of the fact I've been answering phone calls and emails continually on the property tax issue, I was on the radio last weekend about it, trying to help people understand where we're at in our budget, why we're looking at considering these things. I don't feel like I've had the opportunity as a representative to effectively address this issue, to get their feedback, to hear their feelings, and to share a lot of the valid points that have been made today. That's why I feel a decision today for me is premature, because I think the public needs to have all of the information so that they understand it, and that I can do that as part of my job as their elected official in my communication to them. So that's part of my biggest objection for the action today. I think there's valid points on both sides. As far as, I think it's needed. We obviously have a lot of road and infrastructure needs that need addressed. I think a sales tax is an appropriate avenue to address those needs. It's a participatory tax. If you don't go out and buy stuff, you're not paying the tax. So as far as that side of it goes, it's a tax I understand because I think it's properly applied as opposed to an income tax or property tax even that I feel is more extortion from the public and I have fundamental issues with. But that's, for me, why I would love to have this discussion and look at voting on this to either have us approve it or send it to the public. But my personal preference would be to deal with one issue at a time. And I think our top issue right now is the budget and the property tax.
Okay, so Commissioner Ivey, since I put this on the ballot, here would be my proposal. I mean, it obviously can be stricken off, but I'm going to put it back on. So my recommendation then, because our budget hearing is on December 4th at 6 at night here, I would then be willing to motion that this be moved back till December 11th commission meeting, also allowing all of the mayors and the public to participate in the MAG process. That's our first meeting in December, so there can be greater discussion, and then at least at that point have further conversation and action, maybe definitive action either way on December 11th. Are you?
We won't have a service level agreement in place before
Well,
then.
but that's also a discussion we can have over the next few weeks with UTA and find out, and that's why I say,
Yeah, it's
to
not
work
gonna
on that
happen
time and
soon.
allow more of a conversation. So is that more in line of kind of what you're asking for?
Yeah, I think for me, I think that we definitely need more time to be able to have the public understand what we're doing.
Okay.
And they just, I don't know about the two of you, but I know every phone call and email I receive is about the property tax issue.
Yeah.
And there's, definitely the fatigue and the frustration out there. And I think people need to understand what we're doing as much as possible. And
Sure.
that it's our responsibility to help people. Say, here's what's going on. How do you feel about this? Listen to their points and then say, well, what about this point of it? And then see where their feedback is. That's important.
I agree. And it is ironic. I do want to make this side note because it just popped in my head. Every issue of property tax raising that was on the ballot passed. A little ironic in that regard. So anyway.
So I would prefer personally that until we get the service level agreement in place, I would prefer that it not come back on the agenda, just personally, until we have that in place, and then we can have that discussion, with the public, with ourselves, with everyone on board, so we have all the pieces in place so we know what we're talking about all the way through. I mean, to throw it on before is, obviously a commissioner can throw it on any agenda.
Well, that's what I'm
not a
saying.
problem.
We can either continue it or I'm going to put it back on either way on December 11th. I don't care either way. So, I respect the wanting to have more discussion. And again, last time when we talked about UTA, we all voted unanimously. It gives us time to gather more information, hear from the public. And again, we may all vote against it on December 11th. We may all vote for it because we have some of those things, but not, I would doubt we'd all vote for it, but that would,
Maybe if you put it on for December 11th with a caveat that, it would put some inks into UTA to help get that service level agreement
Well, and
in
that's why I
place.
say,
And
no.
if we don't have the service level agreement, then the December 11th becomes a mute issue.
But that's why I'm saying by December 11th, that gives UTA time to react, and you lead the charge on that because, again, you're having good success with them on that. So,
And I would be very comfortable with that.
so I will then move that we continue item number 3 until December 11th, knowing that there will be a service level agreement discussion with UTA.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to continue agenda item number 3 till December 11th, hopefully with an anticipation of having a service level agreement in place. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Aye. That passes 3-0. Okay, with that, there are no other items on there. We do need, on our closed meetings, we need number 12 and 13. I don't see any need for 10 and 11
I didn't
unless there
receive
is
any.
any others.
I will move that we strike 10 and 11 from the regular agenda.
Second.
Motion is second to strike number 10 and 11 from the regular agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0.
I will move that we approve and set a date, time, and location for a closed meeting to discuss the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual or individuals for today's date at this location following the completion of regular agenda items.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve and set a date, time, and location as stated number 12 on our regular agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0.
I will move that we approve and set a date, time, and location for a closed meeting for a strategy session to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation for today's date at this location following the completion of regular agenda items.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve and set a date, time, and location as stated number 13 on our regular agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, that passes 3-0. There are no work session items. Is there any general public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will move into our closed meetings. Thank you for participating with us today.